Hi, I'm Bran, and I love Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
Hi, I'm Erin, and I like Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
This isn't fair. I'm Dan, and I have a lot of feelings about Signed, Sealed, Delivered, and this is the Deck the Hallmark Podcast.
Deck the Hallmark, it's his podcast.
Brandon and friends host this podcast.
We hope you like this jolly podcast.
Well, hello, everybody. And welcome to another episode of Deck the Hallmark. It's Bramble Fest week.
Yeah,
Very excited about that here in the studio. There's a bit of a buzz.
A little bit of a buzz.
It's palpable.
It's almost like we are preoccupied with having to do a lot of other things. But you wouldn't notice that.
We have nothing to do. We're done.
No, that's true. We've been done for weeks. In fact, that was weird. Elizabeth sent that email to all of us and was just like, guys, we've been done for a month now. Like, I guess this is just, like the title of the subject of the email was cruise control. And so, yeah, that pretty much is where we are.
Yeah, I'm definitely not just in a perpetual state of panic. It's fine.
No, and also, I know what you're thinking,
You're fine.
whether you're watching it on philo.tv/DTH or listening to us. What a shameless bit of cross-promotion here for Decom Descendants.
Yeah.
Having producer Aaron Shea join us.
Are we not doing a Disney movie right now?
Believe it or not, this is a little show we like to call Deck the Hallmark. I know.
Okay.
It's new and different.
That is new.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
It's the Decom Descendants theme song
And we
for
have
those
our
of you playing at
headphones
home.
We knew
So
it
we knew
for
that.
sure. Gary, and here's the news.
Decom Descendants, everybody. You can listen, and we got new episodes coming out every Friday.
Yeah, we got some new reviews in too. We can talk about those on the show.
We will talk about those on the show. We're recording our first ever live Decom Descendants this weekend at Bramble Fest. Who knows how it's going to go?
I think it's going to go amazing.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. Guys, I'm excited, I guess. I have mixed thoughts on this. It's Christmas in July. It's Christmas in July, and I feel like some things are sacred, and now I have to shift out of Christmas in July mode and get back into the dead letter society.
DLO.
And I don't know if how to do that. I don't know how to shift out like this.
You just do it. I think it's one. I think two.
You just watch the movie and talk about it.
To be fair, though,
Yeah, no, but my mindset, I'm going in. And
not something we've really done in the past.
it is. I worry that it's affecting my review.
I think Hallmark is in a tough spot because the Postables are maybe the most ardent fan base, but they're not the biggest fan base. And so Hallmark is making another one of these movies, but knows it's not going to be a big ratings getter. And so what do? Hey, Postables, here's a new movie, but also it's in the middle of Christmas in July. It's a tough spot. It's easy for me to switch gears, but not for Brand so much.
I just wish that it was next month. I just wish it was next month.
It would have been great in August.
Would have been.
It would have been great in August.
I just think.
What are we going to get? Another national park movie?
I think it may have hit me
For our
differently.
birthday month, I would have rather watched Signed, Sealed, Delivered
the best birthday month
than a national park
movie. Yeah.
So that would have been a great.
The least they could do is honor our birthdays.
That's fine.
Best birthday month.
But we.
Only birthday month that matters.
That's right.
But we're not holding this review.
No holidays.
We'll put it out. We have to.
We
have to.
It's our birthdays.
That's right.
Is that true? There's no. I mean, there's.
It's
take
the only
day
month
off.
with no holidays.
I could think of a few from Take the Day Off.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but those we're not talking like those.
Oh, speaking of August and take the day off, just believe you me, right around the corner.
Yeah, baby. Shall we talk Signed, Sealed, Delivered? A tale of three letters.
Do you want to?
Let's do it.
Not really. I'd rather be talking about a Christmas movie.
What if you just pretend this was set at Christmas?
Tale of three festive letters.
All right.
A tale
Yuletide
of
letters.
3 Christmas cards.
I will try.
Okay.
I will try to make this as festive as possible.
I would love it so much if you just changed like letters to Christmas cards and you just read the whole synopsis like it was a Christmas movie.
Well, if one of these is a Christmas card, it's the meanest freaking Christmas card of all time.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's exactly right. July 12th, 2024 is when it
Nobody likes
originally
you. Try
aired.
harder, Merry Christmas.
It went a little something like this. Oliver and Shane are in love. They are spending their honeymoon in London, doing fun stuff such as checking out the Postal Museum, looking at the Christmas lights. And so they're having a lot of fun. They get back to from London, and they head straight.
There's a pause, you'll know he's trying.
Yeah. They get back from London and head straight to the LDO, where Norman has been working on a new invention in between decorating for Christmas.
Nicely done.
And so that's fun. This new invention is gonna like get mold off stuff. They dive into one of their next projects, and it is a letter from a drama teacher to somebody named Maria, and it's a Christmas card. I forgot that part. And so this Christmas card was in a mailbox that had exploded boom. Yes. And so it's in tough shape. They don't know who, what, or when. South Carolina Public Radio.
Leave a rating and review.
Thank you. And so, but when Charlie hears it, she starts acting weird, a la Sean Hunter in Boy Meets World, who has a great Christmas episode. Not the one where he blows up the mailbox, but they do have.
We are so far removed from a synopsis right now.
They get back from lunch, and there is a Christmas card that is missing. Apparently, the Christmas card went back into the system accidentally. So 6 months later, it shows up, and Charlie comes clean. It was a prank. It was a joke.
It was a bit.
It was a bit. We did this bit, so we were high schoolers, and we thought it was so sad that somebody does the same thing every single day.
Yeah.
Like, I bet they want a little pizzazz. And so they put a timer inside the mailbox so that when whatever it is, so that
when bomb jokes in public places were back cool again, it was 2017.
Yeah, it was when Rhiannon Fish clearly graduated high school 7 years ago.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Same.
Alarm clock and postbox.
We all did.
I graduated 8 years ago. I'm just a year older than Rhiannon.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm 25.
So the guy shows up and is like, "This is a bomb," and then they do a thing. And so she is like, "I'm responsible for this, but it was a joke, Mom, Dad." And so obviously this is against the law, but you know what? Oliver's like, just take the rest of the day off, basically. Having to play it cool after some encouragement from Shane. How are the newlyweds, you might be wondering?
So great.
Trouble in paradise.
Never been better.
They're having a tough time, and the holidays will do that to you.
Stressful time.
Stressful time for everybody.
That one got me.
Stressful time for everybody. And so Shane is driving Oliver nuts because she keeps leaving her shoes at the bottom of the stairs. Oliver's driving Shane nuts because he does stuff without asking, like taking her wedding dress to get preserved or whatever. And she accidentally breaks the crank from his father's grandfather clock and is panicking. Trouble in paradise. Back at the DLO, they find another letter from the stack of burned letters, and one of them is for Charlie. Apparently, one of her high school chums, Barry. He's like chums?
Yeah, Wild Man. You mean Wild Man Barry?
Wild Crazy Barry had a crush on her and wrote this letter. She never got it, obviously, because of boom, explosion. So add that to the list of people that they're trying to find. Things keep getting worse for Shane and Oliver. The place where the wedding dress was at catches on fire. He finds out about that, and then he also finds out about the clock crank. It's a real mess because you got to crank. It's been cranked consistently for a long time, and if you don't crank it, time will stop. That's my best I can understand. Norman, Rita, and Charlie track down the drama teacher that wrote the first letter, and this first letter is very mean. It's like you're the worst person ever.
Be better. You're not
and so she's like, "Wow, that's crazy." Didn't know whatever happened to that. And she explains that Maria, the kid, was a good kid, was having a tough time. and ended up lashing out in anger, and that caused her to be late to her first doctor's appointment because she had just been diagnosed with cancer. So there was a lot going on with her. She was angry, and so they say, well, technically we have to deliver this letter, but we could also deliver another letter. So she takes some time to write a new letter to Maria. So they include that letter. They find Maria, and Maria's doing great. She's a great human being who places babies with adoptive parents. And guess who is trying to become an adoptive parent? It is Norman and Rita. So maybe that's a coincidence. Who can say? Charlie goes to meet with Wild Man Barry, and Barry is like, I did write the letter technically, but I wrote it on behalf of our old buddy, our old pal, who was a little bit, Merlin, Merlin?
Merlin the magician?
No, what was the guy's name?
Marlin.
Marlin.
He pulled the sword from the stone. You know
That's exactly right. So it was Marlin. Marlin was totally into you, and she's like, "Oh wow, that's crazy, man. What are we to do about that?" And so Oliver and Shane are in therapy, and after 3 sessions, they're good. They are good to go. There's a final letter, but they can't figure out who it's for. They can't figure out what it even says. It's such bad handwriting. Turns out it was Marlin, the guy. It was his. He shows up and is like, "Hey, that's my letter." Turns out he wrote a letter at the same time, basically being like, "Hey, Wildman Barry, he's at it again.
Barry,
he wrote a letter
doing his thing.
without my permission. I do like you. I want to tell you in my own way at my own time. This isn't it." Which is a wild thing to write in a letter. But now maybe it is it. They're going to go on. He's also really great with babies. So that's really great. Oliver, Rita and Norman find out that there's a baby that is in need of a place. The baby has a heart condition. They're not sure what they're going to, if they're the right parents. And Norman does what Norman does and helps them realize that they are the right parents. Yay for them. Oliver surprises Shane by setting up her bench that he made her way back when in the living room. Not ideal, but to show her that he loves her, and also here's all these other things that I've kept over the years. And Christmas lights. Dang it, I forgot I was doing that bit. And basically they recommit to each other.
Lost your Christmas spirit.
And then Shane tells him that she's pregnant, so we're probably getting another one in a couple of years. And that, my friends, was Signed, Sealed, Delivered, The Tale of 3 Letters.
We did it.
There is another one next year.
Woo!
Wow.
The gang will ride again. They're going to put that one out December 21st, I believe,
Signed,
right?
Sealed, Delivered, Fly Me to the Moon or something like that.
Fly me to the moon. Let me
I don't know if that's the actual name or if I just read it.
it.
It had something to do with the moon, and then I've just been singing that song.
That's
There
the
was a movie
moon
that came
landing
out.
movie.
Yeah. Signed, sealed, deliver a baby. That makes sense.
That's
Says
actually
someone
not
in the
bad.
chat.
That's actually really
Yeah.
good. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll break this movie down here on Deck the Hallmark.
Decom Descendants.
We're back. Hello, everyone. I hope you're well.
I am
your
well,
family.
Brandon. You?
I'm doing all right.
Great.
We're talking Signed, Sealed, Delivered, Tale of 3 Letters.
A new Christmas movie on Hallmark.
Brand new
Mystery.
Christmas joint. Not Christmassy enough for me,
To the
but
moon and back.
Yeah,
That's
Fly
what
Me
it
to
is.
the Moon.
and back.
It's a
Signed, Sealed,
ScarJo
Delivered,
movie
yeah.
out now. Yes.
Well, it's also
Promo code deck.
when you buy
Let's
your
break this movie down. We're going to start with a hot take. We're going to share exactly how we
Wherever
felt about
you-
this movie. Aaron, first of all, what are you
Water-
doing here?
What am I doing here?
What?
Yeah,
are you
where's
doing
Brian? we actually went the full first segment without
We
even
didn't even talk
acknowledging.
about the fact that Brian's not here.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
So Brian is
Fired.
boycotting the post
Nope.
office.
Wow.
No, Brian has not seen a single Signed, Sealed, Delivered movie, and we just felt that that was disrespectful to the
Disrespectful.
Postables. And also
Yeah.
really hard to kind of jump in after a decade's worth of movies to review in the middle of it. And
It's never stopped
as a
us
life-
before.
I mean,
Looking at you, baked movies, Sugar Plum,
yeah, but there's only
Sugar
a
Plum
couple
Fun.
of
Christmas,
those. I
that
mean,
one.
there's been like over a dozen of these that he hasn't seen. Whereas I have seen them all multiple times. And so Brian is prepping some fun stuff for Bramblefest. and didn't have time to watch 27 movies. And
also, really, if we were going to do this correctly, you would be the one saying you love Signed, Sealed, Delivered, and Bran would be the one saying he likes Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
Yeah.
That would be the real
Langley in the chat will point out that I do love Signed, Sealed, Delivered so much that this weekend I rewatched all 10 episodes plus the pilot of the TV show. So
there you have
just
it.
for funsies this weekend.
Just for funsies, of course. Yeah.
What do you think of this one, though?
So I went into this one really, really excited, rewatching the pilot and the TV show, and I made it through to the Christmas episode, the Christmas movie, before I ran out of time this weekend. And it just reminded me how much I love this group, this show, the chemistry they have, how every episode, like, it's going to prey on those easy emotions, like, oh, the troops, or, oh, someone got sick and died and we found a letter 10 years later. And yeah, it makes me cry every time, even though, like, I know it's coming. I know the plot twist. I know it's whatever, but it gets me. It just gets me every time. And this movie didn't get me. While watching it, Dan, you pointed out that it had a different, it wasn't as like segmented where normally you start off with the backstory on how the letter got lost in the first place. This one doesn't start off with a letter. It starts off with the group reuniting. And so I just felt like as many callbacks as there were in this movie, it just didn't have the same feel. And I wonder if I would have liked it more if I hadn't just rewatched 10 episodes of the TV show. Because the chemistry in the beginning is so good. And I just felt like this movie didn't have all of that same beats.
And you love these. So imagine what's coming ahead of you. And if you are a hardcore postable, maybe get that fast forward button ready, locked and loaded.
Guys, I really tried. I wanted to like this movie so much, and it was just fine.
I agree that it is fine. I want to start with the overall mystery of it all.
Yep.
Sure.
The letters, the three letters, if you will. In my mind, these were going to be three like connected letters, or maybe they seemed to be separate,
mystery,
but
yes.
then they all come together to one thing. And what we got was one letter that's about this girl that Charlie did go to school with. So I guess there's a connection there, but really has nothing to do with the rest of this movie. Aside from the girl now working at an adoption agency, and, we need that. And then we have two letters where one letter is fully dependent on the other letter being written in the first place. And so I felt like overall
you know what teenage boys, when they wanted to tell someone they liked them, they mailed a letter.
They mailed a letter.
That's how we did things, y'all.
In 2017,
Back
of all
when
things.
I was in high school in the 2010s, that was what I did.
When I was in high school in the early 2000s, like I would still write papers on notebook paper
and pass them, give them to the person. Or I would tell you how I feel on the AIM chat room.
We can talk about this more later.
I just that part made no sense. I just didn't feel any sort of connection to these three letters. And so that's obviously a big part of this franchise, is these letters that tell this mystery and also have this kind of overarching like lesson that goes along. There's a tie-in to what the people are going through. And I just felt like it was a bit of a mess, a bit of a disconnect from what was going on. I also just like, I think that they have told the story and I don't need a continuation, but that's just me. I understand the Postables are always going to want more. Just like I would welcome another Boy Meets World reboot. So,
well, the last like 2 or 3 movies somehow each had perfect endings.
Yeah. And this one this one was like,
hurt.
When we found out that she was pregnant, we all know there's going to be another movie. Yeah. It's like, and so I don't know. It was the least like, they do such a good job of pulling you in, especially early on. And this movie did not do that. And then we find out that the letters just are like whatever. They're like, it seemed like an afterthought. So a miss for Bran.
Yeah, when we started reviewing these, I was very quick to say this is the best thing Hallmark's ever done. And I stand by that take because that was before new Hallmark. We watched all those before 2021-ish is when we stopped. And since then, Hallmark has gone on to really up their game with The Way Home, with movies like Ghosts of Christmas Always and Unexpected Christmas and Three Wise Men and a Baby. Signed So Delivered still represents a notch up in quality, whether it's the TV show or the movie for Hallmark. I say all that to tell you this. This is by far, bar none, the worst Signed, Sealed, Delivered entity that has ever existed, and it's a shame that it happened. These guys already hit all the high notes. One, it doesn't even try to start this off with a case or story that matters, that is bigger than Shane and Oliver and the other two. It just doesn't. That's one.
Getting to the letter mystery was like a decom trying to get to the plot.
We don't even do this. We don't even do the dadgum theme song. We don't even do that. We just jump in. We just don't even do it. So
They've had so many theme songs. They didn't use any of them.
A movie, a series that has always done a great job of marrying character with like serialized theme of the week. Like Martha Williamson has done that, has forgotten how to do that more than I'll ever learn how to do it. She's one of one. She's amazing at that. This movie doesn't do it. It falls incredibly flat. That's number one. That's a big number one. Number two, someone in the chat mentioned it. The marital issues Shane and Oliver are having don't come off as real or interesting at all. They come off as very, very forced as a next step to get them to baby. Mm-hmm. I love seeing Rhiannon Fish as much as the next person, if not more. Big fish head, big fan. No reason. It is just so unnecessary for her to be here. And lastly, which you said right before my hot take, which is this. The last two of these movies, I believe The Vows We Have Made and To the Altar. Those two movies both stick the landing. How often do you stick the ending of a series landing? Not once, but twice. 2 times you sent these 4 people off into the sunset with a perfect... You did it twice. You did it once. You're like, hold my beer. I'm going to do it again. Why did you do it? I said it in the preview episode. I'll say it again. I was scared that they were going to do this, and they did it, and it was a mess. This movie is, I'm sorry, we're being kind because you love them, and Brand's just naturally kind. This movie's a disaster. It's really bad, and I love the people in it. I love the people that make these movies. This did not work at all. It didn't.
It's time for all the feels. So we're talking about what gave you the Christmas feels in this Christmas movie. Aaron.
Yeah. So many Christmas
feels.
I guess as much as like I don't really understand why all of these letters had to do with Charlie, why we were so focused on getting like Charlie just can't be a successful single mom. She has to have a man. And it could be the wrong man. And then she has 2 men that she thinks are vying for her. And it was just a dumb plot line. But my feels is Charlie. There is a scene where Rhiannon tears up. And it got me a little bit. It was the closest I got to crying in this movie. Is Rhiannon does a great job of just like she gets the teary eyes and the emotion was so well done in that scene. Mm-hmm. And that's it.
I mean, I think the closest I had, every movie and every episode, Norman does have a speech, and he has a couple in this one. Oliver.
Oliver, and he doesn't really have a speech.
No, Oliver kind of does this thing at the end of the movie with Shane, and that was nice. I think the closest I had was the conversation that he has with Norman and Rita about the adoption and the kid and the baby who has the heart condition, and just like encouraging them, that they're the right parents. I do think he also kind of gaslit them into being the right parents. Like it's a pretty difficult decision, one that he was basically like, seems like the decision's already made. I don't know, man. Maybe let them decide that. But the speech before he says that was he's so good at doing those things, and it never gets old seeing him kind of be like, hey, here's the thing. So that closest, but overall not really. Dano,
that was the beginning of a speech. It was 3 lines. Yeah. It was the begin. Like my feels was angry I didn't get an Oliver speech. I just what are we doing here? I mean, in a 42-minute TV episode of Signed, Sealed, Delivered, you usually get an Oliver speech. In 42 minutes, this thing's 84 minutes.
I was ready to cry.
And he was gearing up.
It would have been so easy to get me to
He
cry.
was gearing up. He was ready to go. And then it was like, no, that's it. That's done. He doesn't do any. That's the whole. And I just didn't.
You wrong. You worried it's the wrong baby or the wrong parents. As soon as the decision's made.
And then that's it. That was the whole. That was it. That was it. Yeah, I was pretty frustrated by that. I thought, and here's the thing: is the reason that it's frustrating is Oliver typically gives a speech that puts a bow on everything that thematically Martha Williams does so good to bring you through. Like,
can you help me? Like,
her themes have roots in these movies. They're really well done. This is not it.
Does the theme from the first letter have any weight to this movie aside from being the connection to get Rita and Norman to this baby?
I think that's it.
You can change as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, yeah.
I think it's just supposed to introduce that girl into the storyline so that we can get Rita and Norman a baby.
There's a lot with, I'm not touching adoption in this one for a number of reasons, but there's a lot with the adoption thing that I think they were trying to do that didn't quite come across.
It just feels like that, it's the tale of three, like I thought that it was all going to, and it just didn't. Let's take a break. Okay. We'll come back when we'll get to the way what of the well Hallmark. You're on the Hallmark. Hello.
Tip of the cap.
It is Brian. Aaron. Brian's gone. He's no longer with us.
But Dan's still
today.
here.
Yeah, and Dan.
And Dan.
It's a weird way to.
It is Brian, Aaron.
Brian's
not
gone.
Brian. And
I
that's
was
Brian,
explaining.
Brian.
I was gonna get to Dan.
Yeah.
I was gonna get to Dan. Dan's the most memorable.
That's what.
You're
You're not going to even tell that story. You shouldn't tell that story.
No. It is time for the wait what, and it is.
We'll tell it to you off the air.
I will just say this:
What?
Dan had a meeting with somebody, and that person called Dan the most memorable.
And what had happened immediately after he said it?
Dan corrected him.
I corrected him immediately. I was like, nah, no.
That's exactly right. And I appreciated that.
Well,
you're a bud. And I think we're both the most memorable. You can't have one without the other.
Brian, yeah, I think we work well together, but let's be very clear. You and I have been out in public a handful of times. You've been recognized as the podcast guy, and they look at me like I could be your bodyguard.
And you could be. In a sense, you are.
Well, you see me, and you don't think, and you see me in person, I'm a little, I don't know if you heard this, I'm a little bit taller in person than people.
I will.
I think you're shorter.
I think that's what throws people
I just
off.
wanted on the record.
Brian was with some tall guy.
I would absolutely let you protect me.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
It wouldn't bother me one bit. I wouldn't.
Sorry, that was bodyguard Whitney Houston.
Wait, what? It's what we're talking about. One this movie made us go, wait, what? Aaron, anything?
Yeah, I had quite a few. So as I mentioned, like this movie, I feel like it was just more about like reminding you what Signed, Sealed, Delivered had done in the past. There were so many callbacks. Like we get Ramon. You know, at one point we see the porch swing that was such a big point in Shane and Oliver's romance. He's wearing the green tie. He has all these mementos from their relationship. The episode in which we find out Norman was adopted, and it kind of brings adoption into the storyline, is a story about a child with a heart defect that was put up for adoption. And so we're bringing like that back. And maybe I just wasn't watching closely enough. But does Oliver at any point drink a Yoo-hoo in this movie?
I don't think he does.
Because I brought a Yoo-hoo.
She brought a Yoo-hoo.
For this episode.
Because you were reviewing it.
Because I was reviewing Signed, Sealed, Delivered. And
like, duh.
You can't have a Signed, Sealed, Delivered episode.
Of all the things you felt like they were trying to do in the first 10 minutes of this movie.
I think there may have been one in his hand when Norman pulls the letter out of the mold machine, but they don't make it a big deal.
Any comment about
And
it.
there's a chance that it also wasn't a Yoo-hoo. He was holding some sort of beverage.
Well, they're very big on him drinking coffee in this episode. So I whatever. Usually Yoo-hoo's a bigger deal.
Yeah.
I was ready for
Yoo-hoo.
it.
Considering how we got Ramon with a cameo.
Yeah,
we got
Ramon in there for
many
like
of
10
these,
seconds.
And yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oliver has not heard of Harry Potter.
Never heard of Voldemort before, gang.
And I get it. You can live in your old-fashioned world
That's right.
and not want to use the internet and all that. But what rock have you been living under?
He's 53, not 83. That would be like an 83-year-old not knowing who Darth Vader is. That's what that is.
Yeah, and Shane does the whole, like, we'll talk about it later. I don't know.
Just say he's the villain from Harry Potter. Let's moving on. Great.
With Charlie, and they're like, oh, this is when the mailbox blew up at this school. And Charlie's like, oh my gosh, that was the year I graduated. I went to that school. And they're like, oh, do you know Maria? And she's like, nope, never heard of her. And then 6 months later, Charlie's like, oh yeah, there was a Maria. And she got it. She was like this big deal, huge like sports star, big in the theater department. She got arrested and no one ever heard from her again. You're telling me that you don't remember that girl's first and last name? Because I'm telling you, I remember so many people. Like, there is a kid, and I'm not going to name him on this podcast, threw a huge party.
Terry Flanders.
And threw a huge party. And I still remember first and last names of every kid who was like, I don't know if they were full on arrested, but they got in a lot of trouble. Like, a letter came through today that was like, hey, we're looking for Brian. His name was Brian. And I've been like, oh yeah, Brian such Harold. And such who threw that. Like, it took her 6 months to think of that one girl who got arrested. You remembered her for sure.
For destroying a teacher's car.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Maybe
which nobody even knew, and I feel like everyone would know.
Yeah. Maybe Charlie was too caught up with her fake bomb in the mailbox trick. She was worried about her own bits. She wasn't thinking about others.
I just feel like if you smashed a teacher's car,
everyone
the
would remember
whole town would know about it.
If you smashed your teacher's car, everyone would remember you, period.
So yeah, nobody knows why Maria's in trouble. It takes us 6 months to even remember Maria at all. I just thought that was ridiculous. Also, if I told you that I had a crush on a boy in high school and had not seen or talked to him in 7 years, please, please, please do not call him up and have him come
We've
to
got Terry Flanders on the line, actually. Come on in.
Work with no heads up at all. As I'm there just trying to get my baby to calm down. And you're like, hey, can you just come in here real quick? She'd love to see you right in this moment right now with no warning. Guys, please don't
do that. Got it.
It would be really hard to find anyone I had a crush on in high school in Greenville, but that Greenville, South Carolina. But and the last one I have is we ditched the Mailbox Grill, a place that we hung out at for like 20 years, and then we just chose a weird brunch spot with a salad fountain.
Salad tower, I believe is what they would call it. I believe that's the term. Some lettuce is in bowls. Some lettuce is decorative. You got to know the difference.
Some salad pieces are in bowls for you to put on your plate.
When you see it, you know.
And then other salad is just shoved in between bowls for decorative filler. And you probably shouldn't eat that one.
It calls to you.
I wouldn't.
Calls me.
But I miss the Mailbox Grill. I guess those are my feels too.
Shout out.
Mailbox Grill.
Yeah.
It would have been so decorative for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly, yeah. Langley says shout out to Ruby Tuesdays. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They have a better salad bar.
Is there a place that gets more salad bar play than Ruby Tuesdays?
Is there still a Ruby Tuesdays in America?
It's not in Greenville.
Not in Greenville.
Anymore.
Both of them closed down.
Sad salad bar feels.
Shane says jet-lagged.
Jet-lagged?
Which is Canadian for jet-lagged.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Listen, I'm not one to tell people how to be clean. I'm not one to tell people that they should like put their shoes away. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I just think it's reckless, even if you're living by yourself, to put your shoes, especially heels, at the bottom of the staircase.
It's a hazard.
It's a hazard. Even if you're living by yourself, sometimes you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in a hurry. I walk down the stairs. You might trip on your own shoes. It's dangerous. Put them anywhere else. Put them anywhere else other than stairs. It just seems problematic. And I just don't think that it makes him an awful person to not want the shoes at the bottom of the stairs.
But he never says it.
He never says it. That's exactly right. He never says it. He just kind of passively, aggressively.
Yes.
Also. So, but I just, that's a hazard. And if that's you, maybe you've learned to, sometimes you don't realize your mess because you've learned to live in your mess. And I totally get that as somebody who is a bit of a mess. But that's reckless. I think it's reckless.
Yeah.
So our guy, what's his name? What's the buddy? Barry, does call himself Crazy Wild Barry.
Crazy Wild
talking
Barry.
about himself in high school.
Wild Man Barry.
And then it cuts to Crazy Wild Barry in high school. And Crazy Wild Barry is the only one that we see around that is wearing a button-down shirt.
He already has a mortgage.
It's high school, buddy.
He just
I think he's in a button-down and khakis.
tucked in.
He is
a
doing
button-down,
another thing.
Tucked in 2017 khakis button-down high school guy.
I like
Wild and crazy.
he's
Wild and
wild
crazy,
and
Barry.
crazy, but also buttoned up.
That's right.
He's both of those things. Last but not least, they go to marriage counseling, couples therapy. That's great. Love that for them. They do 3 sessions, and then their therapist tells them we're done here.
We're done here.
And I don't think, first of all,
Locked and loaded. They're good to go.
just seeing how they operated, they definitely needed more than 3 sessions. But 2, no therapist would be like, I think we've done enough. That's a bold move to say that. I am the one who gets to decide when I'm done with this therapist, and she's just over there leaving money on the. Please do not spend any more money here. Your money's not welcomed here. As your therapist, 3 sessions, you're good to go. Congratulations, you've graduated from therapy.
I did read a book recently where a couple went to marriage counseling, and it was 4 sessions, but it wasn't like, hey, we're going to go see a therapist. It was they signed up for like a couples retreat, and the retreat came with 4 sessions.
Yes.
But that is so
That's very different.
I've heard of it, but that is not what
they were surprised.
They were like,
when
we're
she
done.
says
We're
this
what
is your
now?
last
We're
one.
good?
They were surprised. If this was a 3-session,
You're just going to send us home like this?
like
we're going to make it? Like, we're good?
we're good. You're done here. You've done it. You've mastered.
So then you just go home and you're like, hey, all of our problems are done because therapist said
You've
so.
been
You
therapy.
mastered.
We won
You
therapy.
mastered.
That's right.
Dano?
That's the goal to win, right? So this movie would have you believe that Shane and Oliver got married after a season of Love is Blind. They got married, and they have known each other for a decade and have declared their undying love for each other, know their very many quirks inside and out, talk about how they are committed to each other and they're the one for each other. And in the first 6 months of their marriage, act as though they are just blown away that this other person does weird things and don't use their voice to communicate it, which is something that I still can't. These characters are too good for this. They're too good for this. Oliver not looking at Shane and being like, could you move your shoes? Crazy.
And rewatching some of the earlier episodes, like, neither one of them has ever shied away
Ever.
from confrontation. Like, when she finds his wife's address in Paris, like, she tells him
Immediately.
when
Thank
she
you.
sees, he writes the letter to Holly and then puts it in his desk drawer, and she's looking for something in the desk drawer, sees the letter, and she's like, hey, I want you to know I saw it, that it's in your desk. I didn't read it. Like, they have never once, like, hid something from the other person. And so to watch them go from being so open and honest to being like, I can't talk to him about my feelings.
I couldn't tell her about the shoes. Ugh. Are you kidding me? Here's the crazy thing is I got married to my wife after we had been dating for 5.5 years, and I was like I was trying my best to show her that I was like a reasonable human being. And it's still like
working on that.
I'm doing my best. But like, this is crazy that he wouldn't be like, hey, don't you think piling up all your shoes at the foot of the stairs may sprain an ankle or tear an ACL? He doesn't mention it. Like, it is not indicative of these characters and how rich and wonderful they are. And it was unfortunate that that's the route that they chose. They want us to believe that these two folks are like 28 and they got married after dating for 6 months. And that is not what we've seen. That is not true to who the characters are. Speaking of age, Rhiannon Fish supposed to be 7 years out of high school in this movie. Rhiannon Fish can be whatever she wants. Having said that, she cannot be 24.
Well, I'm 25. So
25. You can't.
Rand's
guys,
23.
I'm 8.
Yeah, like Little Deckers. Yeah, Rhiannon Fish can be interviewed by Little Deckers.
That's right.
That was wild.
That show's a mess.
So the big premise of this movie, outside of the adoption stuff and Shane of Oliver, is this teacher wrote a really nasty letter to this girl after she damaged her car. She doesn't want him to send a letter, but they work in the DLO. They got to deliver the letter. They don't care if it hurts you or breaks you to your core.
There's a stamp on it. It's got to go.
Yeah. So they're like, hey, there's nothing that says you can't write another letter. So she writes a brand fresh new letter that apologizes for her old letter. They find Maria and they're like, hey, here's the deal. This letter was meant to go to you all the way back in 2017. Slide it on over. This letter is brand new from the same person. Slide it on over. You can read those however you want to read them. And this monster reads the new one first.
Yeah, no. I'm reading the old one first, for sure.
Who would read the new one first? You've got an artifact of history. The new one's not going to even make any sense. Are you kidding me? She didn't just be like, all right, well, I got to see what the mean one says. I got to see what the first one says.
What if she opened the new one and it just said, sorry for what I said? You're just like, great.
I would have written, just in case you read this one first, don't read the other one.
Yeah.
It means nothing.
Yeah. I also can't believe that Oliver and Shane didn't have any premarital counseling. That seems like something they would have probably done. Maybe that's just me, but like they are pretty quirky individuals. Maybe have some of that and have some real issues that come up. When Wild and Crazy, what's his name? Barry. Wild and Crazy Barry sees Charlie for the first time. It's been 7.5 years. And he's like, we should get together more often. Maybe we could plan a reunion. May I suggest 10 years? It's pretty common. It's a pretty common one.
Well, they were specifically talking about Barry, Charlie, Marlon.
Oh, just those three.
Just
okay.
those three.
Makes more sense now.
So could it have been a hangout?
Yeah.
Nope. They're doing a full-on reunion.
I had Erin, I didn't have her do this. She did this. She checked this for me. I wasn't like, Erin, do this. That's not what happened. She just did this out of the goodness of her heart.
Cut the clip!
Hey, Erin, if you could do your job for once in your life.
Hey, Dan, could you please stop speaking to her that way?
Okay.
Hey, Bran, I'm not allowed to speak to Daniel. Could you let him know that, yes, I will do that for him?
I will, Aaron. Thank you for all that you do.
Somebody's got to rule with an iron fist
Thank
around
you
here.
so much for respecting me and my job.
Yeah.
You're welcome. And scene.
And scene.
And clip.
And clip. When she breaks the handle, the crank that goes in this grandfather clock, trying to use it to open a window like a moron.
I would have tried screwdriver first.
She is frantic about trying to get it fixed. Well, what Oliver cares about is maybe getting it fixed in the long run. What he cares about is the clock not stopping. Mm-hmm. And the thing about old things is it's really hard to restore them, but there are modern fixes to help like maneuver and keep them running. And you can go to Amazon right now and find myriad cranks. So many cranks that you could use on that grandfather clock.
I believe one was called Universal Crank.
So there was the one for $15. It looked identical to the one that broke. So you could have just gotten that one and been great. But then also for $15, they have a universal grandfather clock crank, and it has a bunch of different keys to fit different
Like you
types.
Order that, you go listen.
And it was Prime, so 2 days.
Prime. So you order that, and in Denver, maybe one day. You order that and you go, listen, I'm really sorry. I've already got this dude working on it.
He's going to restore your original one.
I purchased this one while we're waiting. And this is something that I believe the character of Shane, who literally her job for 10 years was to look up people and what they're doing, typewriter style. She couldn't do this? That's crazy.
The early, like the whole season of the TV show is her trying to prove to them that using the internet is faster. And she forgot how to internet.
Yeah. At one point, and this will be my last one, I'll make it very quick. At one point, we see that Jeff Gustafson and Crystal Lowe, I don't remember their names in the show, they have to go to therapy.
Rita and Norman,
at one point, Rita and Norman are told in order to adopt a newborn infant, they have to go to therapy. Which is wild because that's not something a state or DSS would require. Then we find out that it is a private adoption. I would just like to remind everyone that your local Department of Social Services has so many children that would love a home of any kind. And you should 100%, if you feel like it's in your heart to adopt, that is something that could actually change a life forever. And I just wanted to let you know. That's all I got.
And if you don't feel called to adopt, you could also foster.
Foster. Also great. Both and.
Let's get to what the Hallmark story we wonder. But at Christmas, you could do any of those at Christmas. It's time for what the Hallmark story we wonder what could have been happened. Maybe get some clarity. Any questions that we still have. Maybe we'll get answers in the next one. Aaron.
Yeah.
What do you got?
All right. I have questions about this grandfather clock. It is such a big deal. Oliver has never missed like keeping it tuned. And I would just like to wonder about, they have gone on trips in past movies and episodes. So who was doing that when you were off? Like instead of hiring like a cat sitter or something, did someone come over and just wind your clock?
Clock watcher.
Yeah. Well, he says that the neighbor was doing it.
Okay.
For this one, yeah. He says my neighbor was doing it, but had to leave like a little bit early, so that's why he walks right in and starts cranking it. So maybe the neighbor's doing that.
Sure. For the last 10 years. Thanks, neighbor. And then the other one I have is when Shane first joins the DLO, Norman is so proud. She needs a workstation. You know, he has a desk, Oliver has a desk, Rita has a desk. And he makes Shane a movable workstation, and it has like a fun desktop computer. It's got like, I've always thought of it as like a steampunk design where it has like gears and it looks real fun, and she can move it all over the office, and it's been great. And then this one, she just has like a table with a wood crate on it and then a laptop on the wood crate. So she loses her fun movable workstation, and then instead of even just getting her a standing desk, they just put a wood box on a desk and said, Shane, here you go. You can work from here.
I have to believe between that and the mailbox
where'd
grill,
that desk go?
that they just didn't have the original sets. That is the best I can figure. Is a lot of this looks slightly different. They did not have many of the original sets. That's my best, because I noticed that too. And the mailbox grill, you noticed, and I was like, they just don't have everything.
Well, at first when I saw that she was on the laptop, I was like, all right, they got her a fancy new laptop that would be something you would do in 2024. You know, maybe she's not using the same computer for the last 10 years. But then when they pan out, it's just propped on a box.
Real bad. Like, not even trying. She's been full-time there for quite a while.
Just where'd that desk go? And Shane, maybe if you're going to wear 4-inch heels, don't have a standing desk. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's you. But you do you.
I mean,
power to you. My feet hurt watching you do that.
So the movie ends with him being like, well, before she says we're having a baby, saying we're going to buy a new house. Mm-hmm. This house is going to become a historical site. A museum. And so, I mean, my question is just like the financial implication.
He's
I know. So it doesn't matter. He could still buy a house without selling this house. It's fine. But is there any, like, do you get a tax break for your house becoming a historical site? Does the city buy it from you and then they own it? How does all of that work out?
Rent it?
I don't know. I don't know how it works. That's why it's right here, right now.
Well, maybe if there's another movie coming.
The new name of this segment's called Right Here, Right Now.
Maybe if there's another movie coming in 2025,
we'll find out.
Fly me to the moon, to the moon and back, over the moon.
And we can
Moon's
have
over
some of those
Miami.
questions answered.
Yeah. Dano?
So early in this movie, someone's like, you work at the post office, right? And Oliver corrects them and says, I work at the dead letter office. Well, that's weird because the dead letter office is in the post office. A simple yes would do. It's not a wait, what? It's not surprising that Oliver would do that. But I know there's a disclaimer at the end of all of these that say that this isn't affiliated with the blah, blah, blah. They don't use the emblem, the whole thing. Can they not say they work at the post office? Have we heard them ever say they work at the post office? Or don't they always say like postal service instead? It's an actual question. Can they not say that? Or could they say it and they can't anymore?
Do you want me to go home and start over from the beginning?
Yeah, okay. If you wouldn't mind. Okay. I mean, Langley's in the middle of that right now. She could probably...
They do multiple establishing shots of the post office.
But postal service. Does
it say post office on the outside?
There's the logo. The logo's on there.
The one guy says, do you work at the post office? And they all are... Like, this whole series is about being proud to be a postal worker.
And I'm proud to be a postal worker. For at least I know I deliver the mail.
They do that. Like the whole thing is like the postal worker is the ultimate, honorable position. And that guy says, do you work at the post office? And he goes, actually, I work at the dead letter office. And I was like, that is part of the post office. That would be like saying, well, I don't work at the post office. I work as a mailman for the post office. Like, it's a weird distinction when they literally are in the building that is the post office. And maybe I'm crazy.
It is weird.
Langley says some things do say USPS.
I think that there is an establishing shot in this movie of the
logo
is on.
Why do you?
Just Oliver being Oliver.
Yeah.
And they have a USPS mail vehicle that is stopping in front of the school.
Definitely has a different logo on it. It's not a real logo. Yeah.
Fine,
it's a
I'll
fake
rewatch
logo.
it.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll have plenty of postables out of the woodworks on this one, so I'm not super worried about it.
It's time for Postal Worker of the Week, since it is a signed, sealed, delivered.
Yeah, someone nominated one.
Who do we have today, Dano?
What is this? This email's from Tandy Takes.
Okay.
I have a suggestion for you for Postal Worker of the Week. It's Tadgley the Gopher Hamilton.
Yep.
The Gopher Hamilton. Postal Worker number is 0606255 out of Milwaukee. That's all I have. Tadgley the Gopher Hamilton.
What do we know about
It's a
Taj?
real email, everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tadgley, are you on the line? Gof, you there?
Yeah,
Are you a little under the weather?
No, I feel great.
You feel great.
Yes.
What makes you so special? Would you prefer Gopher, the Gopher, Taj? What do you want?
I'm 10 times vaccinated. So I feel great. And that's what makes me special.
Taj, how would you like to be? What would you like to be called? Tadgley, Taj, the Gopher, Gopher, the Gof?
I've never thought about it.
For all the money in the world, Taj, what is your last name?
Gopher.
It isn't.
What? What's my last name?
You know, I said it in the
What
email.
is it?
What's your last name? It's Hamilton.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, it's not.
You're saying Tandy's wrong?
Tandy's wrong.
0606255 out of Milwaukee.
Yep,
Tandy is
that's
never
me.
wrong.
Yeah.
That's
Tandy
me.
has
Tandy
emailed in
Takes told me
before.
that it's Tadgley the Gopher Hamilton.
What are your thoughts
Do
on
we have the gopher on the line?
He said it was his postal worker number.
What are your thoughts on miniatures?
Miniatures or mini itchers?
Both.
Sounds like a double decker
Small
of the week.
things that itch and also small things that are.
We got to go, Taj. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
God
Thanks for
bless.
serving
Big
the
fan of
postal work.
miniatures.
Yep.
Maybe it's first to wish you a
Merry Christmas!
Deck the Hallmark's a Bramble Jam podcast is produced by Aaron Shea. For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com. For more information on the Deck the Hallmark family, you can go to bramblejamplus.com. Deck the Hallmark is presented by Philo TV. For a free trial of Philo, go to philo.tv/DTH.